seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
That's it! You're locked in here with me.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It's the Tuesday Radio Baloney live stream. I am your host, Richie Baloney. All right, looks like we already got Xerxes in the chat. Xerxes is saying, and welcome in, Xerxes. I don't think I forgot. Xerxes is saying, I wrote 3 verses of True Gina limerick for everybody. Now, the regular listeners on Radio Baloney Live, hosted by your host, Richie Baloney, that's me, know that whenever anybody drops a True Gina in the chat, they get some applause. We're a True Gina channel. A True Gina channel. Anyway, welcome in. Good to see you. Looks like we've got hot retarded chicks in the chat too. Good to see you, sir. All right, he's saying she won. Who won? Xerxes won? I guess I got the first applause. All right. All right, so what are we doing? What are we doing here, people? What are we doing here on a Tuesday night at 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern time? What are we doing here? Well, we're going to look at the news. We're going to look at what? What are we going to look at? Well, a little something happened where Trump and Elon Musk did an X space together and got like 1 billion interactions on it, literally like 1 billion. An enormous number of millions of viewers. And of course, there was the trouble. Of course, there was going to be trouble. Of course, there was going to be problems. Of course, there was a DDoS attack, a distributed denial of service attack beforehand, because there's people that don't want people to see this kind of a conversation. Of course, there's kind of a Streisand effect in that too. It just makes more people interested. But anyway, we're going to talk about this. We've got quite a lot. We've got highlights from it. So we're not going to watch the whole thing, obviously. We're going to look at some highlights. We're going to look at the media absolutely freaking out over it. They're pretty mad. They like to control the narrative. They don't like it when, I know, Trump could go on X and get way more views and reach way more people than all of the media combined all at once. They don't like that. They want you to know their narrative. They don't want you to hear what Trump actually thinks or what Elon Musk actually thinks, for that matter. They want you to know what they say they think and what they're going to do. So not at all happy. So we've got a bunch of stuff. This will probably take us a while. I don't know how long this stream is going to be. Maybe it'll be 2 hours. Maybe it'll be 4. Who knows? We got a bit of stuff. Of course, stuff on Kamala. I mean, look at this time cover. Talk about cringe. Talk about unbelievable cringe. Her moment. Her moment. It's not her moment. It's the media's moment. She is a media creation. She's an empty vessel. She's a figurehead. That's it. Her moment. No. It's Time Magazine's moment. It's CNN's moment. It's the New York Times moment. It's the Washington Post moment. It's not her moment. She's nothing. She has nothing. She has no platform. Even on her website, they still don't have anything. In fact, we'll probably go there at some point in the stream. Remind me to do that. Remind me to do that. Well, look, she has nothing. Her whole platform is as empty as she is. There's nothing. Her moment. Her moment. What moment? The whole thing is just a big, gigantic media propaganda orgy. It's the media's moment. Got nothing to do with her. Anyway, I think we've got a couple of things here. Here's Jean-Karine Pierre, or Karine Jean-Pierre, sorry. I get that mixed up. Karine Jean-Pierre, who can't come up with one thing that, one accomplishment of Kamala Harris. Doesn't matter. They don't need it. Again, it's just a giant tsunami of media propaganda, and they're counting on that. Why isn't she doing interviews? Why isn't she doing anything where she's not speaking off a teleprompter? For one thing, she can't convincingly. Secondly, they don't need to. I mean, look, they got Biden across the finish line, keeping him in a basement. He might have been in a cryogenic chamber In fact, probably was for like 90% of the 2020 election. I think he's probably was in a cryogenic chamber for 98% of his whole presidency. He's probably in one right now. All right, we'll take a look at that. Man, I'm off to a running start tonight. Running hot. Tim Walz. Tim Walz. So the VP candidate with that Kamala Harris, he's just a retard. He's just a commie retard. That's what it comes down to. We'll get into that. Let's see if I got anything here for the election anymore. I mean, it's all election stuff, but oh yeah, we've got Washington Post journalist or urinalist, some people say, asked the White House if they can stop Trump's interview with Elon Musk on X. It's amazing. This is how you know that they're not journalists, that they're just activists, they're just ideologues, is that they're opposed to their own free speech. So journalists are opposed to their own free speech rights. And they think that the man who says, you can speak freely on my platform, you're a journalist, aren't you? You can say whatever you want. They think that guy's the fascist. They don't think he's actually a fascist. They know that. It doesn't matter. These people are lost. They're lost in some world of ideology and narcissism and fear of losing their job and their position. That's where they are. They're adrift. They're floating out in some void, totally unanchored from reality or ethics, morals, whatever. One thing they are not is journalists. And then we get to the live stream part. And look at this fella. This here is the first great ape into space. And there's a bit of a story about him. We're going to look into that. And that's not political. That's just something, I don't know, because we need it for our souls. We're going to look at this crazy dingbat. Did he live or did he die? I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out later on. The UK is in a mess. The UK is moving towards a China-style kind of neo-fascism / communism. You know, fascism and communism are both left-wing ideology, so they actually kind of meld together in ways that seem to be pleasing Western leaders these days. So who I think thirst and lust after that kind of totalitarian power over the people. We'll take a look at all this stuff. Look at this. Look at everything we've got. What the hell is that? What's going on there?
Did you know I'm utterly insane?
I think that you are. We've got childless cat lady singing a song. What? How isn't this the biggest thing ever? This is probably the first time you've ever seen this. How is this not the biggest thing ever? Is this on the top of the charts? I have to check Spotify. Let's see. Tulsi Gabbard. Apparently the Biden administration thinks she's a domestic terrorist now, so they put her on some like watch list. Yikes. That's pretty dumb. Got all kinds of stuff. What's going on in the airport there? This is one of these CNN teleprompter robots. Apparently, Colbert said that CNN was objective news, and the audience laughed. His own audience. It's hilarious. We'll take a look at that. We got a goose, our duck, that's friends with a bunch of puppies. So this will be our puppy pellet cleanser. When things get too dark, you guys can request this, and we'll go to it. Just as a pellet cleanser from all of the horrors of the modern world. Even though there's, good white pill stuff and positive stuff we'll be looking at too. But this is a good place to go when things get a little too dark. Look at that. It's a duck, and he's friends with the puppy. I mean, what more do you want? All kinds of stuff. So I guess we got Jordan Peterson in here. We got JD Vance destroying this CNN propaganda robot. We have an extremely offensive joke from this British comedian. I believe his name is Jimmy Carr, and it's very offensive. You're going to want to hang around for it. Xerxes says that she loves the animal videos. I know, we all do. I bring you guys what you need. And you guys need the puppy pellet cleansers for sure. Oh, what's going on there? I was going to save that. We'll say, what's going on there? Holy jeez. Save that too. What's going on here? Bill Maher, sometimes he makes sense. Nigel Farage, I like him. And we'll just go through. I'm just giving you guys a little taste here. So if you need a reason to hang around, this dog gets furious with this game. Not putting up with that shit. Here's a story of somebody who is actually trying, and this is an aspirational video, and we're not going to make fun of him because he's making an effort. This is funny, but I'm not going to show you right now. Yeah, so that's it. So there's a foretaste of all of the wonderful things that you're going to be in store for. So I guess this would be an opportunity for me to say to anybody who's not subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel, and then like your work is done. It takes you about 2 seconds right now. You subscribe, and then next time you go on Rumble or YouTube, you don't need to remember the name of the channel, Radio Baloney, or anything like that. It's just right there for you. Also at this moment, I should say, so YouTube, we're going to do, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe, I think, maybe a little bit longer. And then we're going to cut off the YouTube part of the stream and we'll continue on with the Rumble part. So right now we're going simultaneously on YouTube and Rumble, but YouTube is a censorship machine. And so unfortunately what I've had to do is just at a certain point, we just have to cut it off. It's just safer that way. And I think it's working out better. That way. But yeah, so at some point I will inform you that it's time to get off YouTube and then come over to Rumble and then join the Rumble live stream over here. And if you have to start an account, it'll take you like 30 seconds. Take you 2 seconds to find the channel, Radio Baloney. And yeah, then you'll be signed up. Everything will be great. Subscribe to the channel. Also, likes. Has anybody done the first like yet? Because the first like gets you double good karma. Now, the first 100 after that, so 2 to 100, also is very high levels of karma, but it's not as high. I mean, just the regular amount you get, even, for the 100th like, is still abnormally high. It's an abnormally large amount of karma. But the first like, really, that you go to town. All right. 2 likes. Okay, so we've got 2 already. Well, that's good news. So somebody really cashed in already. You're going to need that karma. The world's fallen to hell. You don't want to be left in a jam and thinking, if I just had a slight bit more karma, if only I'd press the like button on the Radio Baloney live stream. Why didn't I listen to Richie Baloney? Why? That's what you're going to say to yourself. Why even put yourself through that? In any case, oh, the caffeine is really kicking in tonight. It's really going great. Also, feel free to put your testimonials in the chat of you subscribe to the channel or you like to the channel or both, and then that night, the next day, something good happened. You found like a $20 bill in like an old jacket pocket or something, or you were constipated and it cleared up that night or the next morning, or you just had your first good sleep in a while, or maybe you won $5,000 on the scratch and win. Let's see, Rosie AB, welcome to the chat. Had to let the first one have the karma. I have Jesus. Well, you know what? I think you're just a saint. All right. And now it is time for us to begin. We'll get to this one later. We'll get to this in a little bit. First, let's get to this like massive conversation between Elon Musk and Trump last night. Let me just refresh this, make sure we get everything. So between 7:47 and 10:47 Eastern Time, President Donald Trump's space post received 73 million views. 73 million. During the same period, there were 4 million posts about Elon Musk and President Trump's conversation on X, generating a total of 998 million views. And I think what this means is just interactions, clips, all that kind of stuff. So almost a billion people, it would certainly be over a billion people by now, because this was 18 hours ago. But a billion people interacted in some way. That's enormous. That's absolutely enormous. This is from X itself. So it's the official X account, formerly Twitter. So this is why this happens. A collection of negative headlines from the Trump and Elon X space. Let's see. Let's take a look here. Trump rambles, slurs his way through Elon Musk interview. It was an unmitigated disaster. Now, I have a clip from In the Room with Donald Trump. It's actually a video clip, and you can hear on that he's not doing any, he's not slurring or anything like that. What it turns out that it was an artifact of the technology of like compression or a de-esser on the audio. And the video of Trump in the room talking proves that. But of course, they love that. Kamala Harris campaign criticizes Trump for serving self-obsessed rich guys after interview with Elon Musk. Really? Who's her biggest contributor? Pretty sure it's a rich guy. Donald Trump's lisp during Elon Musk's interview raises questions. Again, they're not interested. They're not journalists. Either they're not journalists or they're just totally incurious. Like either they're not journalists or they're just the worst, most incurious, incompetent journalists in the world. So Donald chatted with Elon, and here's the future as they see it. Losers win. Incompetence rules. Incompetence rules? Has anybody in the world actually genuinely thought that like Elon Musk is incompetent? Now, the idea that Trump, with everything that he's accomplished in his life, which is also insane, but you're also talking about the richest man in the world, Elon Musk. I guess they're talking incompetence because there was a glitch, as a lot of them are putting it. Well, it's actually a distributed denial of service attack on X. So I don't know, you can call that a glitch or mistake or incompetence if you like. The idea that Elon Musk is in any way incompetent or Donald Trump is insane. You have to be living inside of a delusional bubble to believe that. It's my opinion. Musk at Trump talk on X after glitchy start. There we go. A 2-hour ramble. It's a 2-hour long conversation. Let's see. So it's just this on and on and on. Rambling Trump, Musk interview marred by tech issues. Tech issues. You know, Trump is saying, or Elon Musk is saying it was a DDoS attack. Now, if it had been Kamala Harris having that conversation on X, if it had been Kamala Harris that was going to have this conversation on X and it happened, what would they run with? What would the headline there be? What would they blame it on? For one thing, it would be a disaster, right? Secondly, they'd say Kamala Harris interview attacked. And who would they blame it on, do you think? I think they'd say Putin. Putin ruined the interview. Therefore, you better send the rest of your money to Ukraine. It would be a completely different story if you just reverse the people. I get these people they're not journalists. None of this is journalism. This is now just a Orwellian propaganda machine, all of it, coordinating with each other. And they all say the same things. Rambling, glitchy, Kamala's joy. Every headline talking about Kamala's joy. They all just came up with it separately, Trump regales Elon Musk with familiar falsehoods. Oh, fuck, just give it up. Trump returns to X with technical glitches, softball questions from Musk. It really is remarkable. Really is remarkable. Can you guys hear that phone ringing in the background? Somebody's calling me over and over again. I'm trying to ignore it. Let's see. What are you guys saying in the chat here? Let's see. Rosie AB said MSM called DDoS technical difficulties. I know. If it had been Kamala, something Kamala was doing, it would have been a massive Putin hack is what it would have been, threatening democracy. That's Trump, so, they don't actually care about democracy anyway, even though, the United States is a republic, a constitutional republic. Apparently, they don't know that either. Elon Musk said a wall of negative headlines was so predictable. Yeah, nothing more predictable than that. They're such NPCs. Laughing. All this does is drive even more people to listen to the conversation themselves and realize how much the legacy media lies to them. Lies to them. It feels like CNN is kind of down to the dregs of that hardcore um, cult, that hardcore cult mentality that just, it doesn't matter. They know what they want to believe. They want to be told what to think. They've got the Pavlovian conditioning, and when they ring the bell, they drool, and they want CNN to ring the bell, and they want to drool. They want to be told what to do. Rosie says if it was Kamala Harris, would be called a technical terrorist attack by conservative hackers. 100%. All right, so let's get to a couple of the clips here. I mean, here's another one. Trump rambles, slurs his way through Elon Musk interview. It was an unmitigated disaster. Orwell warned us about this. Why didn't we listen? For a fascism-curious billionaire who loves cuddling up to right-wing loons, Elon Musk, maybe I'll do an even more woke voice. For a fascist-curious billionaire who loves cuddling up to right-wing loons, Elon Musk sure is good at making right-wing politicians look stupid. Fuck off. Just shut up. We'll go through this in a second. I must have a button for this. I must have a button for this somewhere.
Oh, good for you.
What absolute twaddle.
What absolute twaddle indeed. Fascism curious billionaire. Let's see. The guy who wants to give everybody free speech rights on his platform. He bought the platform specifically to preserve free speech. Is fascism curious? Isn't that interesting? I would have thought the people that want to curtail everybody's speech, all the speech that they don't like or that they're told to not like, they might be the fascist ones. Because that seems like more in line with what a fascist state would do, right? Like, fascism isn't renowned for its free speech rights. Again, are they stupid, incompetent? Are they lying? Is it a combination of all these things? Fascism curious billionaire who doesn't want to stop you from speaking your mind. Journalists complaining about their own free speech rights. How is this possible? How is this possible?
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
I don't know, Kamala. I think he might have. It's like alternate universe stuff. It's like if you woke up in an alternate universe and you went, whoa, nothing makes sense anymore. Journalists. All right, let's okay, so Vigilant Fox has put together some clips. We've got some more clips as well, but some highlights. We're obviously not going to watch the entire 2 hours, right? So let's watch some of these. Before we do it, you know what? Let me take the opportunity to force you to listen to me read an ad. Birch Gold Group, that sounds good. Okay, folks, we recently had some monumental news that no one is talking about. For the first time ever, the interest the U.S. pays on its debt surpassed every individual budget item except Social Security. Except Social Security. This is a problem. That's right. The U.S. now spends more on interest than on national defense or even Medicare. And it's only getting worse as big government continues to spend recklessly. That's why savvy Americans are turning to gold, something not tied to the inflated dollar. You can too with help from Birch Gold Group. Birch Gold Group. for over 20 years. For over 20 years, Birch Gold has helped tens of thousands of Americans protect their retirement savings by converting an IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. To learn more, go to birchgold.com/rumble. That's birchgold, BIRCHGOLD.com/rumble, and get a free, no obligation info kit on diversifying your retirement into a gold IRA. Birch Gold has earned an A+ rating, can't do any better than that, with the BBB and thousands of happy customers. Protect your IRA or 401k. Go to birchgold.com/rumble to get your free info kit on gold today. That's birchgold.com/rumble to get your free info kit on gold today. Pretty good, I think. I think I almost nailed that one. I give it a 9 out of 10. Maybe an 8 out of 10. I don't know. It was pretty good. Love supporting these products on Rumble because that means they're supporting Rumble. That means they're supporting free speech, which means that they're supporting you and they're not cowards. Xerxes says, go for the gold. You know, you guys were talking in the chat about silver the other day too, gold and silver. It's starting to seem like a better and better idea as the, world explodes, as our economies explode. All right. Here we go. So let's take a look at some of these clips. So what are they talking about here? All right. So Musk is going to talk about this massive distributed denial of service attack, which this wasn't to cause problems for X. This wasn't just some guy in his basement, right? This is an organized thing. And it's fairly powerful. Deep state, I don't know, China. Who would have an interest in Trump losing the election and Trump and Elon not being able to reach, millions and millions and millions of people? What's going on?
Have this conversation. All right, hello everyone. My apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers, and saturated all of our data lines. Like basically hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated. We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say, and but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation, and it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. It's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview. And this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind. So you can understand like what is what is it just like to have a conversation? So honored to Donald, great to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people, and it's an honor. We view that as an honor. And then you do want silencing of certain voices. Usually those are voices that have something to say that are constructive, oftentimes constructive. And so we have to consider it an honor. But congratulations on breaking every record in the book tonight. That's great.
Well, thank you.
So that really is, this is This is the worst nightmare for the media. For one thing, just getting totally shown up by X, by the reach of X, by how much larger the reach of X than is of CNN, say, or MSNBC, or the New York Times. But then also, they are working towards, they have a political goal, right? Their political goal is to get this empty vessel, Kamala Harris, elected president. That's their job. Their job isn't, they're not journalists, right? Their job is political operatives, essentially. Right? Their job is to get Kamala Harris elected and to own the narrative and own all of the framing over anybody who stands in their way. That would obviously include Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They need to own the framing, and they can't with this. Right? They can take 3-second, 5-second clips or whatever, right? Like the Find People hoax, right? With this, widely distributed, and people can just listen to it without their interjections and without them cutting it up and their own cheap fakes, as they like to call them, right? This is terrifying to them. Donald Trump is enemy number one. Elon Musk is enemy number two. Because Elon Musk wants people to be able to get the information that the mainstream media is hiding. So, I mean, for one thing, that there's an attack. What do you guys think about the distributed denial of service attack? Do you think Elon Musk is saying that's what it is? I have every reason to believe him over anybody else, right? Because he owns the company. But the other option is there were just so many people, it was more even than Elon Musk was anticipating. Well, that would mean that Trump is so popular, so much more popular than they anticipated, than the mainstream media is saying. Maybe that's it. But I tend to believe Elon Musk. He says DDoS attack, no reason not to believe it. He owns the company, right? And obviously, this is a highly sensitive political event. So this wasn't some kid, some 15-year-old kid in his basement, in his family basement, right? So I mean, this was, to knock X down like that, and it had to be something coordinated, something with some money behind it, something organized. What do you guys think? Deep state? Hey, China? China doesn't want Trump back in again, right? Maybe Russia. Russia doesn't want him back in again either. Could be lots. It could be Iran. Who exactly? I don't know, but I'm not buying the technical glitch part they're trying to sell it as. It's Elon Musk's incompetence. Sure. X is way bigger now than it was before he bought it, when it was still Twitter. He's the most successful man probably in the history of the world. I'm not buying the whole incompetence thing. How do they even say that with a straight face? Some fucking nothing journalist for the Washington Post or, Daily Beast or something, some other garbage place. Just some nothing journalist who's never accomplished anything. Like Elon Musk incompetent. They love to do that. Or Donald Trump incompetent. Nobody paved the way for Trump to become president. He had to fight for it, right? He actually had to win. He's had to win primaries. And he had to win an election with 95% negative news about him. Then he had to go and fight another one with 95% negative news about him in the media. Kamala Harris, nobody's actually voted for her. Nobody voted for her in 2020. Nobody's voted for her now. She's just been appointed. And we're all supposed to enjoy. The whole world is supposed to rejoice in her joy and the vibes. Don't worry, she won't start World War III. Great. Thanks, CNN. If she did start World War III, they'd say it was great. They'd say best World War III ever. Thank God, the joy of World War III. Kamala's World War III joy. All right. What are you guys saying in the chat here? Let's go to you guys for a second. Xerxes got a quote here. I don't care if it's Chairman Mao. I won't pick up the phone. What's that from? Xerxes says lyrics from a 70s album. Reminds me of that John Lennon, was it Revolution? If you go carrying pictures of Chairman Mao, ain't going to make it with anyone anyhow. After that, he went out and wrote Imagine, which is a total high school yearbook poetry commie song. But I made a video about that. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to find that very easily, by the way. Let's see. We got Dramus Eves in the chat. Good to see you. He said he's asking, is the karma double if we like on Rumble and YouTube? Asking for True China. Dropped a True China in the chat. You get some applause for that. Is it double? You get a half for YouTube. A half. So it's 1.5. I'm sorry, I can't do any better than that. All right, let's continue, shall we? So we've got more clips. So what are we talking about here? Oh yeah, so about the sniper, which we've gone on ad infinitum on that here, and how ridiculous and unlikely, and how transparently it's not just some kid getting lucky.
I mean, looking at the aerial views, that building would be like the #1 spot for a sniper. I mean, it's like if you were to pick like what is the favorite, so if the goal is to assassinate, what's your favorite spot? That building. The roof of that building would be #1.
That would have been the spot.
It's like you can ask for a better location. It's like
no, that would have been the spot.
I mean, looking at the aerial views, that building would be like the #1 spot for a sniper. I mean, it's like if you were to pick like what is the favorite,
yeah, it's just totally obvious to everybody. It's like they were trying to make it obvious. You know, I don't believe you could have these one in, because look, the fact that kid got onto that roof, that's not 1 in 100 rallies odds that would happen in 1 in 100. It's not 1 in 10 rallies. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen in 1 in 100. I don't believe that. I don't think it would happen in 1 in 1,000. Maybe 1 in 10,000. A mistake, an error that catastrophic could be made. Maybe 1 in 10,000. And then the fact that there's a communication breakdown, apparently, where they had, well, first off, they let him on the stage in the first place, which again, would that happen when there's a known threat in 1 in 10 rallies? Would it happen in 1 in 100 rallies? 1 in 1,000? 1 in 10,000? Maybe 1 in 10,000, maybe 1 in 100,000. You start adding these up. You've got him on stage for 2 minutes while people are screaming, the guy's got a gun. Nobody gets him off the stage. What are the odds of that happening? Again, 1 in 10 events? 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000? You add these up and the odds are astronomically against this being just a series of catastrophic mistakes somehow. Just a big coincidence. No, something happened. Something else happened. Anyway, so what's going on here? So here Musk praises Trump for his response to the assassination attempt, which was truly amazing and which the media has been trying very hard, and social media and big tech, Google, have been trying very hard to memory hole because, well, it doesn't benefit them.
You know, your actions after that assassination attempt were inspiring. You know, you, instead of shying away from things, instead of ducking down, you were pumping your fist in the air and saying, fight, fight, fight. And I think that's, I mean, you know, the president of the United States represents America. And I think that is America. That is strength under fire. And so that's, you know, a big, you know, part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the the president of the United States for having another term here, is that was just incredibly inspiring. But I mean, what was it like for you?
Not pleasant. I have
Not
to be honest.
pleasant.
I said there was blood. I had
Being
more
shot is
blood.
not
I didn't
much
know
fun.
I didn't know I had that much blood. The doctors later told me that the ear is a place that is a very bloody place if you're going to get hit. But in this case, it was probably the best alternative you could even think about because it went at the right angle, and it was a hard hit. It was very, I guess you would say surreal, but it wasn't surreal. You know, I was telling somebody you have instances like this, or like a lot less than this, where you feel it's a surreal situation, and I never felt that way. I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear.
Yeah.
And because it hit very hard, but hit the ear. And I also heard people shout, bullets, bullets, get down, because I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly. And we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down. So I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter. And so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle. So that was the miracle. That was, for those people that don't believe in God, I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to, I'm a believer. Now I'm more of a believer, I think. And a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. But it was amazing that I happened to be turned just at that perfect angle. And all because I put down a chart on immigration that showed that the numbers were so great. I love that chart even more now.
Maybe it's a sign. Maybe that's a sign,
It's an immigration sign.
You highlighted a serious issue.
Well, yeah, maybe that's a sign. He highlights probably the biggest issue, the most crucial issue in the States, or one of them anyway, in top 3, and somebody shoots him. So, yeah, a sign that somebody doesn't like what he has to say. A lot of very powerful people don't like what he has to say. A lot of powerful established people don't like what he has to say. But Musk was talking about, of course, the physical courage that Trump showed in that moment, where he stood up and he raised his fist and said, "Fight, fight." That's what you want to see in your leader, right? What percentage of politicians wouldn't have just crawled off that stage, wouldn't have pulled their Secret Service on top of them to shield themselves? What percentage? That was truly remarkable for anybody, for any civilian, to show that kind of physical courage in that dangerous of an environment, in that dangerous of a moment. And you won a lot of people's respect in that moment. That's why they're trying to memory hole it. That's why the media is trying to memory hole it, right? So you've got this incredible courage from Trump. The media doesn't want you to know about that. They want you to know about Kamala's joy, her joy. Her joy.
Oh, good for you.
Kamala's joy. I gotta have a button for that.
I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
I don't even have any glue at home with me. Damn it. No glue or paper bags. Anyway, let's continue. So what do we got here? We've got Trump criticizing Kamala for her hypocrisy.
Would it be accurate to say that you're supportive of legal immigration, but we also need to shut down illegal immigration, and especially unvetted illegal immigration, because that's not the same as saying that everyone who's an illegal immigrant is bad. In fact, I think most people who are illegal immigrants are actually good, but you can't tell the difference unless there's a solid vetting of who comes across the border. Does that accurately represent your position?
I say it very simply. They have to come in legally. They have to be checked. Yeah. Because look, Kamala was the border czar. Now she's denying it. Everything that.
First off, how was anything that Elon Musk just said there fascist or fascist leaning, or what was the words from that? What was the word from that guy? from that journalist. Hold on, let's go back for a second. Oh, fascism curious. How was any of that fascism curious exactly? That sounded perfectly reasonable and something everybody understood not that long ago, including every Democrat, including every single person who called themselves a liberal. But anyway, let's continue.
Would it be accurate to say that you're supportive of legal immigration, but we also need to shut down illegal immigration, and especially unvetted illegal
Yes.
immigration, because that's not the same as saying that everyone who's an illegal immigrant is bad. In fact, I think most people who are illegal immigrants are actually good, but you can't tell the difference unless there's a solid vetting of who comes across the border. Does that accurately
100%.
represent your position?
I say it
Okay.
very simply. They have to come in legally. They have to be checked.
Yeah.
Because look, Kamala was the border czar. Now she's denying it. Everything that I do, she's saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. They could do things right now. It's horrible. No tax on tips, and all of a sudden she's making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. And by the way, they had just the opposite. They had not only tax on tips, but they hired 88,000 IRS agents, and many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you, and were really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she says, she comes out with what I said, which I think is terrible. And I think it's also hitting them very hard. These people are fake. Now they're also saying they did a good job on the border. We had the worst numbers in the history of the world, not of our country. There's never been a country in history that has had a catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think you believe this too, you hear 12 million, 13. I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country, many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is insane asylums. And many are terrorists.
See, this all sounds pretty reasonable, doesn't it? Right? And this is what they don't. This is why they're freaking out. This is why the media is freaking out about this. They don't want anybody to hear this, right? Because this isn't in a speech. This isn't in a speech. This isn't in some ludicrously, strategically hostile interview with somebody from CNN or MSNBC or something, right? This is just him having a conversation with Elon Musk and speaking things that most people, that reasonable people would say are perfectly reasonable. In fact, this was a perfectly reasonable conversation that Hillary Clinton would have had 20 years ago, back when she thought that was politically expedient for her. Hey, we got George Kirby in the house. Sorry, I'm late. Hard Bastard streams, and he has been on vacation, so I had to watch some. I subscribed to him. By the way, I haven't seen any of his videos yet. You recommended him, so I did subscribe on Rumble. So I'm looking forward to checking some of that out. I still haven't looked up the Leonard Patterson stuff yet. I'm sorry. I'll get to it on Friday. I still do intend to do that, but I've just been so busy. All right. Let's move on. Musk then issued a dire warning about the future of America if the current border policies continue. He said, I'm not sure we've got a country if open borders persist for another 4 years. Trump stressed that if Kamala gets into office, it would lead to another 50 to 60 million. All right. These are important. These are the important things that people need to hear. Right. And this is important to not just Americans, to everybody in the Western world. In fact, everybody in the world, because if the U.S. goes down, the United States goes down, everybody goes down. They say that when the United States sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold, right? They don't say it for nothing, right? It's a big deal for everybody. Every sane person in the world should be pulling for Trump. But anyway, it will affect you wherever you are.
And I saw an ad by Kamala saying how she is going to provide border security. Where's he been for 3.5 years? For 3.5 years,
Yeah, no, this is
we have 20 million people
I
poured
think is
in. It's a terrible.
yeah, I think this, frankly, I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past, 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country.
You don't
left
have a country
at that
left.
point.
Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America only. You know, we think of South America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, you know, the 4. But it's not that. It's everywhere. They're coming in from everywhere. And I had to stay in Mexico.
Yeah, I think this is a super important point. Like people, it's like basically when I went down there, I was like, well, where are people from? It's like almost no one was from Mexico.
No, Mexico less.
It's just the border. It's just the border with Mexico. But the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything.
We're already overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed.
Yeah, this is all, for one thing, Elon Musk is just spitting out facts there, right? Like there's only so much. Like there's like in Canada now, we've realized that, well, enough Canadians have realized that Justin Trudeau will not be prime minister in the next election. They realize that, yeah, there is a limit, right? Like it's not about being for or against immigration. There's a limit. I mean, how many homes do you have? How many police do you have per 1,000 people? How many hospital beds do you have per 1,000 people? Right? What kind of traffic can your highways handle? How many jobs are available? Right? There's a number, right? If you ask, a real lefty, you ask a real left winger, right? Well, okay, I'm fine with immigration. We need some immigration, right? But, could you put just what for you would be the number that's too much? Would it be the entire population of the Middle East? Like, so would 10 million people in Canada be too many people in 1 year? They will not answer the question. 100 million people in 1 year just move into Canada. Would that be too many? They'll never say no. They would answer. They've been trained to just not even deal with it, to just deflect. They don't even want to think about it, because by throwing out a number, by saying, okay, well, maybe 100 million a year is too many people, they're admitting that you're not actually a racist or fascist or whatever for just saying, okay, like maybe there's a problem of logistics here. Maybe Trudeau hasn't thought through the logistics of that. Maybe Biden hasn't thought through the logistics here. But to even entertain that there might be a limit is to admit that they're wrong all along, and that the things they say about you are actually wrong, and that it's perfectly reasonable to have conversations about immigration and what's a good amount and what's too much. Try it with a lefty. Try it with a lefty. Say, I don't know, what do you think? Maybe is 1 billion people a year into, I don't know, into California, is that too many, do you think? Do you think that might be too many? Would 1 billion people a year into Prince Edward Island be too many, do you think? Right? They will never answer. They will not say, well, I mean, 1 billion's too much. Obviously, 1 billion's too much. They won't. A normal person will, obviously. A person who can be reasoned with will. But the real lefty, that person who just is gonna vote blue no matter who's just gonna vote for Trudeau no matter what, that person in the UK who's just gonna vote Labour no matter what, because if they don't, it's mean to vote for anybody else, or it's racist somehow. Try it. What about 1 trillion people in 1 month? They'll just deflect. They will not answer the question. Again, because answering it reveals something that they don't want to admit. Anyway, here we go. This is just funny. This is just classic Trump.
And we did things and said things through this president with a low IQ, very low IQ. He had a low IQ 30 years ago, by the way, but now he might not even have a IQ at all. There's nothing on the board that goes this low. He said things that were so stupid that war would have been, that war had zero chance of happening if I were there. Zero chance. He was saying everything the opposite, everything the opposite. And it's so sad because many more people have been killed in Ukraine than you read about. You don't read about how bloody it is and how disaster.
Sure.
Hey, look, just in the two armies, you lost 500,000 people. And, you know, Ukraine's having a hard time. Ukraine, I don't know if you saw the article recently, and it's true. You don't hear the true story. But if you think about it, Russia's gone, you know, Russia defeated Germany with us, and they defeated Napoleon. You know, they've been around a long time. They're a big fighting force.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's very unfair. And Ukraine now doesn't have enough men. They're now using young men and very old men to fight. And we're in a very bad position. And I'm not going to blame exclusively, but I can tell you I could have stopped that. And a smart president could have stopped that. It wouldn't have happened. But we had a man that actually made it more prevalent. It was so bad. The words that he was using, the stupid threats coming from a stupid face that he was using. I said, this guy's going to cause us a war. He's going to cause us. And let me tell you, it can lead to World War III. That can lead to World War III. The Middle East can lead to. We have numerous places that could end up in a World War III right now for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't want World War III. I don't want that. What are you guys saying? Let's see. Rosie says, are we not all fascism curious? I am. I am curious as to how anyone would ever choose fascism, unless the alternative was even more dangerous. I am curious of someone who lives in a democratically... Okay, cuts off there. Anyway, well, I mean, I've read lots of books about World War II. I read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. And of course, I'm interested in history, right? If you're interested in history, you're interested in all aspects of it, especially 20th century history I've been interested in. So, yeah, and that's, I mean, of course, anybody who's just interested in knowing things and understanding the world is going to be interested in learning about all of these things. But I think that the irony in it of them throwing around these accusations is that they seem to want, these journalists, urinalists, perhaps we call them, they seem to want actual fascism themselves. They seem to be lusting after, I think they look at China and lust after that. They lust after that totalitarianism in China, which looks a lot like fascism to me. And fascism and socialism, communism are all left-wing ideologies. They're all related. I mean, don't forget, the Nazis were the National Socialist Workers' Party. And there was plenty of socialism in Nazi Germany. Read about it. It's there. You'll find it. All the rage now with the leftists is price controls. Oh, yeah. Nazis were big on that. Very big on that. Lots of public works, lots of public spending. George Kirby says, Democrats are more dangerous than fascists. Well, I think they're aspiring fascists, genuinely, right? Like the people who want to shut you up, the people who want to say, who want to intimidate you into not speaking your mind, those are the people that are fascist. I mean, if you're looking for fascist candidates, they're right there. That's them. The people who say, actually, I disagree with you, but I agree with your right to speak your mind. They're very unlikely to be fascists. In fact, it's kind of against the whole fascist thing. Kirby says True China shouldn't have been reelected after that construction company scandal. There's a million scandals, but you dropped a True China in the chat, so you get an applause. Yeah, there's a lot of scandals that he should not have been. I mean, for one, The fact that after lecturing the country about how racist the country is, how racist all the other Canadians are, how racist all the Canadians that don't like him are, how racist fundamentally Canada is, and there's 8,000 genocides going on a day. And then he's caught with then we find out about all of the pictures of him in blackface. That should have been it right there. Hypocrite. The fact that he was asked, well, how many photos are there of you in blackface exactly? And he said, well, I can't tell you because if it was the wrong answer, if it was more than the number that I said, well, it would look like I was lying. How did he ever get reelected after that? Doesn't make any fucking sense. Well, I think we know. I think the CBC had a lot to do with it. Just like in the States or in the UK or wherever, the mainstream, the corporate media, as well as the state media like the CBC, had a lot to do with it. Yeah, you're talking about the SNC Lavalin. They're involved with bribery, and that's a whole separate video. Oh, Xerxes says, I'm not putting my Trugina limericks on until we shift to Rumble. All right, we're going to do that in a minute. I think we'll show... Okay, we'll show the last of the clips of from the Trump Elon Musk X space, which really should not be the part that goes on YouTube, because that's the part that's most likely to get the video or my channel nuked. But okay, let's do it. Let's since we've already started, we'll just continue.
The inflation, it doesn't matter what you make. The inflation is eating you alive. If you're a worker or if you're just a middle income person, you can't afford, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing that's happening. And we'll end that quickly.
Well, I think a lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from. Inflation comes from government overspending because the checks never bounce when it's written by the government. So if the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply. And if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services, that's inflation. So really, we need to have we need to reduce our government spending, and we need to re-examine. I think we need like a government efficiency commission to say like, hey, where are we spending money that's sensible? Where is it not sensible? Right. And we need to live within our means. We're currently adding, I think, $1 trillion to the deficit.
Keep in mind, this is the guy who cut 80% of Twitter's staff and made it better. So I think, see, Trump should utilize, if Trump gets reelected, he should be utilizing Elon as much as he possibly can. I know he's a busy man, but I'm sure he'd make some time for Trump.
Roughly every 100 days.
That's right.
And the interest payments on the national debt have now exceeded the defense budget. It's on the order of $1 trillion.
It's interest,
and it keeps growing.
Yeah, it's the same everywhere. That these, and I call them I don't call them liberal government. Like the liberal government in Canada is not a liberal government. It's a far left government. It's an extreme left government. I don't consider the Democrats liberal. No, they've become extreme left at this point. I'm sorry. Anybody who thinks that sex changes for children is a great idea is beyond the pale, right? They're not moderate people. They're not reasonable. Anybody who's for open borders, that's not moderate. That's extreme left. That's ultra left. And it doesn't matter what Biden or Kamala say, right? Say about the border. They let in, God knows what, it's at the minimum 10 million people in 4 years, probably more like 12, could be as many as Trump thinks as many as 20. These aren't moderate things. These aren't liberal things, right? But my point is that it's what happens anytime the far lefties take over. Like in Canada now, He's talking about inflation there, and he's talking about the debt or the interest on the national debt. In Canada, we now pay more servicing the interest on the national debt than we do on healthcare. That's not a healthy place to be. It's always the same shit. All right. And finally, Musk addressed the issue of censorship, calling out European Commissioner Thierry Breton for trying to censor his conversation with Trump. That's right. He sent this threat, essentially. I think we've got it in here somewhere. We'll take a look at it. Breton's warning. He wrote this letter before the X space, I guess trying to intimidate Trump and Musk, or maybe just virtue signaling for home, for the EU, perhaps. But his warning was, with great audience comes greater responsibility. He was met with a sharp response from Musk, who shared a meme telling Breton to take a big step back and literally fuck your own face. All right, yeah, we've got the letter here. Should we go through it while we're on this already? What do you guys think? Can we get this? Oh, looks like, no, we can't because that's just an image. Oh, well, I've got it somewhere else. Don't worry. We'll get to it. In contrast to these censorship regimes across the world, Musk told Trump, I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech. Let's watch that.
And there's a lot of attempts to do censorship and to force censorship, even on Americans from other countries. And I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech, because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with false attacks. And you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to inhibit their freedom of speech. And I think that says a lot. And there's a lot of attempts to do censorship and to force censorship, even on Americans from other countries. And I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech, because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with false attacks. And you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to inhibit their freedom of speech.
See, that's how you know that they're not really journalists, right? They don't care about freedom of speech. They're not trying to get to the truth. They're not trying to speak truth to power. They're representing power, right? They're raging in on behalf of the machine. This is how you know any real journalist, okay? Any real journalist would celebrate Elon Musk taking over X and saying, okay, now speak your mind. Don't worry. I know it's not been perfect, but it's a lot better. It's a lot better. But anyway, that's how you know that they're not really journalists. If you're a journalist and you advocate for censorship and you hate people who advocate for your own rights as a journalist, you're not a journalist. All right. Was there any more here? Okay, so let's move back now. And what are you guys saying? All right, you know what? I think at this point we've been going for an hour and 10, and that's longer than I expected we would keep the YouTube stream going on. So right now we're streaming simultaneously to Rumble and YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to shut that down because there's too much censorship there, and it's just too risky. So even what I just showed you is probably actually the worst part of the whole show for YouTube censorship. So I probably should have saved that for last and just shown you some cute memes or something. But I appreciate you showing up. But we're going to have to shut down the stream now because YouTube sucks. So please go over to Rumble. The water's great. The chat's very good. The chat is excellent. It's very active. Come over and join us over there. And maybe, who knows, maybe you'll want to stay. Who knows? Anyway, we'll see you on Friday.